I wanted to give a little report from the Sacred Anger Release session last night. It's now Wednesday morning. And again, the session was in St. Paul, Minnesota, which I drove to and got there almost in time. Chicago, oh my god. It's not fun driving through Chicago, so much construction. But anyway, it was a really great session. And of course, I would not want to relate any personal details about what happened. But just in general, I just want to, well, first of all, acknowledge that it was masterfully led, and that, you know, these are not practices you can just conjure up without having done a lot of your own work and have gone through a lot of your own experiences, dealing with your emotions, all your inner human turmoils, and also then just, having experience working with groups and leading them through, meditative and other practices. Our session leader, Maya, was just amazing at this. It was so effortless. And so just want to acknowledge that, and just her giftedness and skill in that. And also just her willingness and I don't know, just openness and drive to be there, to be setting this up. Again, I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm not saying there's nothing around Michigan, but like this, I don't actually know. But it can be hard to find things, I'll tell you that. And especially hard to find these types of sessions really targeted to masculine souls and folks who are on that spiritual journey, on that part of their spiritual journey, especially dealing with anger issues. So we tend to have a lot of individualized responses and resources, but there was just something so healing about coming together with some other brothers, and we were just angry together, and that might sound really strange, and it probably was really strange from an outside perspective, but so amazing, so freeing, to just be able to express raw anger from the depths of your soul, and to just really plumb depths that maybe you weren't aware of, and see what would come out of that. And things did, amazing things. And again, I would not at all want to just betray any trust from anyone involved, because it was a sacred space and just a place of trust. But I just want to spread awareness of these types of practices, and to just encourage others who are maybe feeling led, feeling prepared to maybe seek out such opportunities to engage with others, and or to start something of your own, because what really came out of it, and then this is for me personally, so I feel like I can share this a little more specifically. What came out of it for me personally, and why I really felt drawn to drive all the way from Kalamazoo, Michigan to St. Paul, Minnesota, to join in this session, is that we're going to need a non-toxic masculine anger if we're going to sort of there's two ways I kind of think of it. One way is pulling this runaway train onto a different track. We're gonna need directed energies, and this is not to in any way, shape, or form to minimize divine feminine energies at work, but we're gonna need masculine energies too. And right now, I gotta say, the majority of masculine souls are downtrodden, very much feeling repressed, suppressed, and this has come out. Now, it may not look like that, because I think there are obviously a lot of very loud and angry men out there. You don't have to look far for that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about men who, get all angry at the other political party, the other religion, the other this, the other that, who are forces of domination, and all the kinds of toxic masculine energy that a lot of us grew up with, because our fathers grew up with the same thing, and their fathers grew up with the same thing. But it's just to say that we're going to need a balance of both energies, and both the feminine and the masculine has work to do, and I really believe there's also a coming together that is going to have to happen. It's just something that I sense, even from within, communities of which I definitely feel that the divine feminine, that community is far advanced compared to divine masculines. We've got a lot more going on, but also there's a lot of mistrust because there's been so much toxic masculinity, and I can sense some skepticism of the masculine, some mistrust of the masculine. And so again, that's why it was just so powerful, to have a divine feminine leading this session and leading, some masculine souls who are all there for healing, all there explicitly wanting to explore their emotions, the depths of themselves, and all knowing, every single one of us knowing that there was something hidden there that we were, each of us, there to find, to touch, to pry out of us, and to deal with in some way, or have it deal with us. And it did. It did deal with us, and we became very quickly a little community of brothers who shared an experience, and that will never end. That will never change. There is a connection there now. We are entangled in the best way, and that's I don't think maybe we need much more than that. It is just to keep entangling in these ways. We've been so separated. And that's why I think it was also so important and really a sign to me, like, yes, drive 8 hours to go be with these folks in person. That's important. I'm not saying everyone needs to find someplace hours and hours away from themselves to connect with other people. What I'm saying is it's that important to be in person connected in these ways. It's that important. And we need more awareness, of who's doing what where, who's building practices where, so that we can share with each other. We need to network these things, and this is where I feel like, okay, if there's sort of a masculine entrance into this space, this is kind of where I feel it hitting for me. It's like, okay, let's organize. Not that the feminine doesn't organize, but I really feel that there's a directiveness, that it's time. It's time for us to grow together, and for lack of a better term, to build a movement. And I don't necessarily like that term because it's so fraught, but I don't really have a better one right now. But just to acknowledge that we're not separate. We're together. And it's important that we keep building that togetherness, that awareness. And this is, I guess, the last thing I wanted to get to. Back in 2012, 2013, we had the Arab Spring. We had a lot of Occupy movements, occupations of public squares, and there was this moment of like, aha, there was all this organizing happening through social media, and I think that was real. There were a lot of very sort of naysayer, from all political persuasions, especially older generations than mine. I'm a Gen X, kind of straddle Gen X and not quite millennial, but I would consider my younger brother, closer to that. But that older generation was just, and it didn't matter whether they were, right-leaning, left-leaning, religious, non-religious, whatever it was. It was a total repeat of the 60s, of the youth coming out, the young people coming out, and saying, hey, we're done with this, and getting basically zero support, not necessarily from anyone in those older generations, because there definitely were. And in fact, people like David Graeber were, rest in peace. He's still with us, in a lot of ways, I think. But they were there, and it was largely because of them and the work that they had done that these things were happening. But as a society, at an institutional level, there was no support for what was going on, and you can see it in things like what happened in Oakland with the occupation there, and in New York, just the forced removals, and so a lot of that fizzled, and along with it, the internet and social media have been completely remade since then. The algorithms have been fine-tuned for profit. They are, of course, they can be wrenched by big actors to, say, influence an election and so on. But it's much more difficult, I believe, on these platforms for everyday people to organize and get together in large groups. And we're much more fragmented. And we're also, the echo chamber effect has been strengthened. It's all about profit and just feeding everyone what they want to hear over and over and over. And that has separated us in a lot of ways, in my opinion. I used to tell my students, rather than bringing us together, what the internet has really done is shown us how different we all are. And I do think that's true. We all have different opinions and views on things. But there's two sides to that coin. Again, it hasn't brought us together. It hasn't done it. So how are we going to do that? Well, not by relying on these platforms. That's the first thing I have to say. Not by relying on these platforms to do it for us, right? Because those platforms are there to capture profit. Those platforms are there to put everyday people out into digital pastures, to work the digital farmland, produce a digital crop that our sort of neo-medieval overlords can then, scrape off the top and profit massively. Meanwhile, we're all just scraping by with the underleavings, a true sort of digital medieval peasantry, if you will. This isn't really my idea. This comes from a lot of other thinkers. Slavoj Žižek is one who talks about this, and among others. So anyway, rambling a lot here. There's a lot on my mind, but I don't think these platforms, the way they are the answer. So then, what is the answer? Well, it doesn't mean we can't use that technology, but what I'm starting to envision is that we've got to set up networks that are stable beyond these platforms, where we know people in different places who are in touch with those places, who are sensitive, who know lots of other people in those places. We have the capability for the first time in human history, at least in a technological way, we have the capability to be super sensitive to the world we live in. If you will, every human being is a walking sensor. We sense when things are wrong. We sense when things should be changed, or we can. But that's not really wanted in a lot of ways. It's not really it's suppressed, and not in a big conspiracy theory kind of way. It's suppressed culturally, religiously, just the social makeup, the stew that we all are born into and then grow up in. This is what it produces in us. Our education system is massively in line with this. Producing generations of people who, it's really not about producing people who can think for themselves, and it's much more about will you toe the line? Will you come to school every day and rush around like a hit chicken with your head cut off, ignoring the signals your body gives you for when you need to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water even, just bringing you into subjection at that level? That's what our kids experience for 13 years of their early lives. Those basic things are a point of attack because it desensitizes us to our bodies, to our minds, to our intuition, to what we're feeling. We're just told to suppress it all, ignore it. And that right there, that when I touch on that, there's that toxic masculinity that's in charge. There's that patriarchy. It's all about strictitude. It's all about bringing so-called nature in line with the mind. Well, what mind? Whose mind? For what reason? For what purpose? Right? So, again, then, what's a counter vision to this? A network of people all across the world where we find ways to be in touch with each other and allow the information, the sensing that we are all getting as we move about the world. For example, I was in Holland in May, walking the beach, and there's dead animals everywhere, and there's plastic, and there's something going on. There's stuff going on there. I sensed that while I was there. It's real. And it's something that more people should know about. And of course, if we draw this together, there's people noticing these things all over the world. But see, does it get reported on? Is it in the media? For how much time? For what reason? Does anything actually get done about it? Etc. Well, you know what? We don't have to wait for government, you all. We don't have to wait any longer. What we can do is be sensitive and network and build up a stable network of our own that is not controlled by this or that social media platform. Might use the technology, but from the start it's going to acknowledge that it might have to go around these things in other ways. It's going to have to shapeshift in order to persist in a world that's going to be dead set against it. Well, at least an official world that's going to be dead set against it. But I really think that we don't have to settle for that. I think there's energy for this. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I'm not a tech person, so I'm the person my family comes to when they have tech issues, but I'm really, really not a tech person. So, I don't know what the possibilities are, but I'm sure that something can be done. Anyway, these are just some of my takeaways, some of my learnings, and I'll leave with one last thing. That patriarchy, that toxic masculinity, that what I have come to understand and call draconic energy. If you look up the word draconian, it's an excess strictness, right? Excess strictness. This is not just a masculine thing. It can also come out in the feminine. I grew up with that, with a toxic draconian feminine that is, over worried, for instance, about cleanliness. The whole cleanliness is next to godliness type thing. Just so overwhelmed by that and just fixated on it. Draconian energies. Okay, it's a strictitude that just cannot see the forest for the trees. It's always the trees, the trees, the trees. And I'm all for trees, but if you get to know any trees, they're very aware of the forest and the critters and us, the bigger picture. So, and also very sensitive. But see, these draconian energies, they war against us. They war against our beings, our bodies, our minds, our intuition, and they put divisions up again, inside us, with all these different parts of us. And that's on purpose. Our world has been captured. The people in it have been captured. And because human beings are sort of at the top of the evolutionary chain at this point, and very much have grown into control of the biosphere, that means the whole world has been subjugated to that. And why? Well, mostly for the idea of profit. Profit. The profit motive is behind so much of this. And also control, right? Controlling other people. So I find that the energy that's coming in right now, and is going to be coming in for the next decade or so, is strongly opposed to that. Strongly wants to break that down. And when I say break it down, I mean like composting. Literally composting. Because that structure has pretty much just about reached its end. And it persists. It reinvents itself over and over and over. Maybe it's not at its end, but I guess I would say it this way: it can't hide itself anymore. I think as a species we see it. We're aware of it. We're aware that it's there. And I think most of us know that something needs to happen. But another part of these draconian energies, they tend to keep us separated from each other. Tend to get us fighting each other instead of working together. Again, since we're not sensing fully, since we're separated, body, mind, spirit, intuition, we don't trust. We don't trust our guts. We don't trust that we can change anything in the world. I'm just one small body, right? I'm just one small mind. We don't see our connection to everyone else, to the whole earth itself. As we counteract that, as we come together in spaces like what I experienced last night with these other brothers and with my sister Maya, who ran that session, that can break this down. That can work like water. Water is a universal solvent. We often liken spirit to water. We often liken spirit to the wind. Water and wind erode. And this stuff is ready to be broken down. And the interesting thing about that concept of breaking things down, that feeds into hermetic principles of life, death, and rebirth. That is a natural principle. What we have, though, is an unnatural system that should have died a long time ago. It was ready to die, but it keeps being injected. Literally with capital, with more funds, with the drive towards technological innovation. Keeps getting injected with new life when it should have died. And dying for it would be healthy. We're so afraid of it. We're so afraid of it. We've resisted it. And it's time to let old things die. It's time to let that happen. I'm not saying we blow it up. Definitely not. I'm not saying we stop taking care of people. I'm actually saying quite the opposite. If we take care of people and we focus on that, this system will crumble because it is not focused on taking care of people. It is not allowed to take care of people when taking care of people gets in the way of profit. It is not allowed. Period. Gotta understand that. That's the line. And so when we road things happening. So when we focus on taking care of people, when we focus on taking care of ourselves, on saying yes to ourselves, on saying yes to the people in our lives, on saying yes to the things we truly feel are authentic and true and empowering and what we want in our lives and in our world, this system will break down. And the faster we go, the more of us join in that process, the quicker it will break down. It will happen because it's a system ultimately of humanity. We got control of it. It's here because we've let it be here. It's here because we've not questioned it. It's here because we've questioned it, but we haven't en masse. We haven't gone through the process of breaking the shit down. And that doesn't mean it's all going to go away. There are parts, there are things we've built that are going to persist and need to persist for the good of humanity and of the whole earth. But there are things that got to go. There are things that have to die, be decomposed. Something will still come out of those things. But you know, they'll pass away for now. That's I guess a metaphysical version of what a materialist, a Marxist, a socialist might call a revolution. The problem, the reason we haven't had a revolution is because we haven't had a spirit to move us together. Spirit is meaning. We need meanings that enough of us can latch onto that bring us together, and then we will do it. We haven't done that. The Italian Marxist Antonio Gramsci, I'm going to probably butcher this quote a little bit, but said something to the effect that the old cannot die and the new cannot be born. And that is where we have been at for 100 years or more. At least 100 years. So here we are. We have the capacities that we need. We can get together. We can network. We can find each other across the world and build up our networks. Build up human networks. Sensitive networks. And as we as human beings move through the world, and especially we need to get back into nature and get in touch with nature, get in touch what we call nature, but we are nature. We are part of nature. We need to understand that. Human beings are not unnatural. The things we do are not unnatural. Cities are natural because human beings are of nature and we build cities. That's what we do. We have grown to do that. Just like ants make ant colonies and bees make beehives. We make cities. But how can these cities be different, right? How can we move through these spaces that are also natural spaces that we have built? Yes, they are built spaces, but we are of nature, so they are natural spaces. But are those spaces good? How can we change them? How should they change? How should they be brought in line with our current needs? Current needs of humanity, current needs of other beings in nature. Plants, animals, the water. The water is alive. We have got to take care of our water. We've got to. Indigenous, First Nations, Native Americans. These folks have been telling us this for decades. For decades, we have got to take care of our water. All this is alive, you all, and we got to take care of it, and we've got to be sensitized to it. We need to move through the world in a different way, sensitive to it, and then expressing what we're sensing with a network that percolates that information up so that everybody can see it, everybody can know it's there, and there won't be any doubt when we do that. If we listen to that, there will not be any doubt about the things that need to happen. We will do them because we'll feel it. It's got to be enough of us. I don't know what that number is. I believe that right now we're in a time of finding really just leaders, people that are going to grow this thing. That's what we're doing right now. That's what the end of 2023 is about. That's a lot of what 2024 is going to be for, is for even expanding that outward. And then it's go time. It is go time. Because there are points of no return. We know this. There are points of no return. Anyone who's been in a relationship has seen the end coming. I was just talking to one of my brothers last night about this. You go through months of knowing this thing is over, this thing is dying. Well, there are points of no return, and you can be already past them, and there's nothing you can do because the damage is already done. In any relationship, that is possible. That happens. There's no time. There's no time to waste. We are there now. There's no, 2030, 2050. No. Now. Now. All right, so those are my reflections. Again, just thank you to Maya, and I'll post a link. I don't remember her last name. Hopefully I'm not mistaking her first name. And just, yeah, this is where it's at. This is what we need to engage with. I feel very strongly about that. And I see a lot of you out there already know this. It's not going to be a surprise to you. So let this be confirmation. If when you come to this, whenever I get this posted, or bits and pieces of it posted, that's what this is for. It is not to teach you. It is not to inform or reveal to you. If you're coming to this, it's already been given to you, almost certainly. And this is for confirmation of that, okay? This is real, but there's so many forces that are going to tell you it's not, you can't do this, it's never going to work, sit in your little corner, we're never going to change anything, yada, 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 yada. And the more of us believe that, the more that is the world that we will have. Also, if you believe that, if you live in that, that is the world you're going to live in. That is the world you're going to create around yourself. The more of us live in this other world and start building it, the one we want to live in, the more that's the world we're going to see around us. The more that's the world we're going to build. That's just how it works. So, we got to build it. And I've been frustrated my whole life by this, with so many different groups of people, knowing that, hey, if you all just wake up and we just decide to live in this world instead of that one, we will be there. We can just do it. We can just do it. That's it. It's just the easiest turning from the sun on my left to, where it's pointing on my right now as I drive. It's just that easy. Just turn. Where's the sun shining? Oh, let's go there. That's it. All right. Much love, much peace. All the light in the world. Bye, y'all.